Hello, my name is Carl Schoens, and I want to welcome you to the cooking show, Company Good. But first I want to explain to you just how the title of this show was conceived. Years ago when I retired, and my wife and I like to entertain and serve food to various friends and neighbors, we decided that before we did that, we'd have sort of a test run. So at the end of the cooking of the food, I would turn to her and she tasted it, and I'd ask her, is it good enough to serve company? And throughout the years, it was shortened up and it became, I'd ask her, is it company good? We are here in the beautiful home of my neighbors, Melissa and Chris. They have graciously offered the use of their kitchen for the filming of this program. Today, we're going to prepare a favorite of mine, stuffed bell peppers. Now, most of the traditional recipes for this dish use a ground beef, but in this recipe, we'll be using a lighter mixture of ground turkey and ground chicken, which I think you will find to be equally as flavorful. This meal will take about 45 minutes to prepare and about 45 minutes in the oven. So let's get started. First of all, we're going to preheat the oven to 350 degrees. Once that's going, we're going to take the peppers and we're actually going to cut the tops off and core the inside out. We're going to get all the seeds and the membranes out. So let's start. What I like to do is to place the knife in the center on the edges and cut around in a circular motion. Make sure you have a sharp knife. It makes things much, much easier. Then I grab the top, carefully pull that out. I've got all the seeds, and we can put that in for our compost pile. Now you can use a spoon if you want to, but I find that using the knife, cutting this out, is just as easy. And then take and get all the seeds out to prepare this for this. Now there are several different kinds of pans that you can use, and this one is nice because once you've cut it, you can place it back in there. It stands up just as straight as can be. Once again, same movement. Cut the tops off. Always cut away from you in case that knife slips. Pull the top part out. And in there, all the seeds. Seeds won't hurt you, but they're bitter, and it's not what you want in there. And the purpose of taking the membrane out, don't cut it too thin, because when you stuff them, you still want to have enough firmness in the pepper to hold everything up together. We have a nice selection today of yellow, red, and green peppers. It doesn't always have to be green to make this dish. And I have found that the different colors in the peppers really don't make a difference, doesn't make a difference in regards to the flavor. Now, our peppers have all been cut and cleaned out. Next step is to come over, get the saucepan. We're going to put just about a ½ inch of water in here. Then we're going to bring it over to the stove top. Turn the heat on. I'm going to bring my saucepan back over to the stove top. Turn the heat on. To a medium heat. And bring that to a boil. Once the water starts to boil, we're going to take our peppers and we are going to place them in the saucepan upside or cut side down. All right, the peppers are done. So I'm going to come over, I'm going to turn off the heat, take off the lid. Be very careful, everything is very, very hot. Very hot. And I'm going to bring the peppers over here, and we're going to place them in this ungreased baking dish. I can't stress enough to be very careful with this because it is hot. Now, the easiest way that I have found to get these out is I use my cooking tongs, get the water out, and then put them back in place. And those are, as I said, very, very hot. Now, what's nice about using a pan like this is after this is cooked, you can set them in here and you don't have to worry about the bottoms being uneven or if they are even sitting right, because this will hold them in place. Once we get these all in our baking dish, we're going to set the peppers aside for now, and then we're going to dump the water, clean the pan out, and start the next step where we're going to begin to cook the stuffing for the peppers. Dump the hot water out of our pan, we've dried it, and now we're going to begin to make the stuffing for the peppers. So I'm going to return back over to the stove top, and we need about 2 tablespoons of extra virgin olive oil to start off with. I'm going to turn the heat back on. Medium heat. And into this, we are going to add our chopped up celery, and our chopped up onion. And we're going to stir that around until the onion and the celery become just a little soft. This will just take a couple of minutes to bring this up to being soft. And then what also I like to do is I'm going to get a little chicken stock, and I'm going to add just a little bit. Starting to boil. There we go. Just a little bit higher. Now see, if I was at home doing this, Jan would be telling me to put the screen on so it don't splatter grease all over the top of the stove. Once the celery and the onion have softened, now it's time to add the ground turkey
Show it to us.
and the ground chicken. And what I like to do is to keep it as loose as I can when I first start to put this in there, because it is going to require some constant stirring. If it will start to take on the texture that you're looking for. And at this stage of the cooking, you want to add, this is Italian seasoning. It has a multitude of different ones in there, all in one, and just a couple of dashes of this in there. And then I also add some garlic powder. And stir that around. Now our meat is starting to brown, and when that browning has been completed, we are going to remove this from the stovetop, bring it over to our preparation area there. We're going to add the rice and the ketchup and get it ready, and the tomatoes. We have some tomatoes over there too. And then get that ready to stuff right in those pepper shells. The meat looks ready, so we're going to turn off the heat. We're going to remove the skillet from the stove top. And into this, we are going to add our pre-cooked rice. Into the mix. Stir that in good. We're also going to add a couple of good squirts of ketchup, a couple of twists of fresh black pepper, and a couple of twists of sea salt. Mix that around. And then add the diced tomatoes. Once you have this all stirred up, mixed well, it's time to stuff the peppers. So we're going to bring our pepper tray over and begin the stuffing process. In fact, that's and remember, now you might take a look at that and say, that's too much, it's not going to fit into 6 peppers. We're going to use every single bit of it because it is, as the name of the dish is, stuffed. And what I like to do is to kind of go around and stuff them a little bit all around and give it time to sink down a little bit. Okay, we're almost finished stuffing the peppers. We just have just a couple of more spoonfuls to go in, and we'll be ready to top it with our tomato sauce. And we're done with that. Our oven is still preheating at 350 degrees. We have our tomato sauce that's already pre-made.
Show the camera.
And we are going to spoon this just on the top. Now, with this type of cooking tray, you probably don't want to spill it all over the top of it. When you use a baking dish, which you will see very shortly, you can be a little bit more generous with the sauce. And whether it spills down on the side won't probably matter as much as it would be in this. All right, the top is on. And we are going to take this product over to our oven and place it in there at 350 degrees. So I'm going to open that up, and in it goes. Okay, here we go. All right, our peppers have cooked. Always wear the mitt, and I have a towel because it's hot. I'm going to take this out. Bring this over and close.
Okay.
All right, now I've got this container out, and I know what you're all thinking. That's not the same one that he put in the oven, nor did I even take it out of the same level. But as I told you before, I wanted to give you a different view. So these peppers have been cooking in there. This is the different baking dish that I wanted to share with you. And as you can see, it can be just as nice as using the one that we just put in there. Now at this point in time, what I want to do is to take some shredded cheddar cheese and put the cheese on the top of these peppers. And then once we have it topped off, we will return this to the oven, and I promise I'll bring the same one out that I put in there this time. And once the cheese has had an opportunity to melt, and it will be ready to serve on our plate. So once again, always remember though, this is still hot. I'm going to open up the stove and return this for about 5 more minutes. Okay, our 5 minutes is up. Back to the oven. The cheese has melted. I'm going to slide this out. Take this back over to here. Close our oven door. And now we will plate one of the peppers. Once again, be careful, these are going to be hot. So, let's take a red one, and we will put that on there, on the plate. I want to cut this in half, like so. And garnish with a little sprig of parsley, and add a little more sauce. And then I always like a little more cheese for the inside. And there you have it. Chris, for those of us who'd like a glass of wine with this meal, what would you suggest?
Well, thank you, Carl. What I would suggest for the meal that you prepared is a wine from the Piedmont area of Italy. The varietal is called Barbera. And Barbera is a very food-friendly wine. It's elegant but balanced, and it has a flavor profile that I think will go really well with the meal that you have prepared.
Now, because this has got turkey and chicken as the main meat in this, there are some people that might like a glass of white. Would that work well with this too, a white wine?
Yeah, no, absolutely. And I would say really the wines are paired up with the sauces that go with the meal. But for a white wine, for those of you who would like white wines, I would suggest a Sauvignon Blanc that's got a nice citrusy, herbal characteristics that would go very nicely with the peppers that you prepared.
Well, thanks, Chris, for that insightful information. And I think now at this time, we'll take the rest of our peppers over to the table so everyone else can share in this meal. At this time, we'll take the rest of our food back over to the table in the center for everybody to share in today's meal. Cooking can be fun, and I want to thank everyone for watching the show today. Now, in conclusion, when you're making a meal, please keep in mind always that if the meal is worth making, it's worth making company good. Thanks. Well, for today's menu, what you'll need are 6 large sweet or bell peppers, green, red, yellow, and orange. I mix them up for the color presentation. Green are usually more available and a little cheaper in price, but there's no change in the flavor, and the color presentation is much nicer if you can get the other colors also. You'll need 1 pound of ground turkey, 1 pound of ground chicken, a 1/4 cup of chopped celery, a 1/4 cup of chopped onion, 1 cup of cooked rice, and it can be white or brown, 1 teaspoon of salt, a dash of black pepper, 1/4 cup of ketchup, a dash of Italian seasoning, a little dash of garlic powder, 1 medium tomato chopped, 1 can of tomato basil soup, and 1 6-ounce can of tomato paste, and then 1/4 cup of shredded cheddar cheese.